Here's my little RO Buddy from Aquatic Life. This is the new RO unit that I got earlier this week. Just kind of wanted to give you a rundown on it in case anyone else is looking to maybe try having like a little tank with some sensitive fish where they are afraid to use their regular tap water because of pH or hardness or anything like that. The little RO Buddy is a great option, I think. You know, my personal opinion. I was doing some research, going back and forth between the bigger, more expensive guys, you know, the big boys, and this little guy. And for my purposes, you know, I'm only going to be using it for my little 10-gallon crystal shrimp tank, and so this was a perfect option for me. It's rated at 50 gallons per day, 50 gallons for every 24 hours. That comes out to maybe about 2 gallons, a little over 2 gallons an hour. I did do some timing on it the first night that I was flushing it out and getting it set up. They do advise to flush it out just because there's preservatives in the main membrane up here. And you don't want all that crap gunking up your nice little DI bed here. So when I was flushing it out, I did notice that it was putting out a lot higher output than what was advertised. I was getting a gallon of water for every 15 minutes on the second almost, which turns out to be about twice as fast as what they're advertising. So a gallon every 15 minutes is 4 gallons per hour, which is you know, a lot more than the 2 gallons per hour that they're advertising. Now I'm sure that's probably going to slow down over time as these cartridges get filled up with all the crap that they're filtering out of the water, but considering they have a lifetime of a year or two, for my purposes, I'm not really worried about it, especially if I'm only doing, you know, small 3 to 5 gallon water changes. I'm not going to really need to push this thing to its limits. I don't need water, you know, lots of water right away. You know, even a slower 2 gallon per hour is perfectly fine for me. But anyways, so this is a 4-stage unit. You can get a 3-stage unit, just the base model, which is these 3 cartridges. You can get those for about $45. The 3-stage unit, I feel, is still a really good deal. When I was flushing this thing out the first night that I had it, before hooking up the DI bed to it, I was getting probably about 17 or 18 parts per million on my TDS meter, which is really good when you consider that most tap water in the country, I think they say, is between 2 and 400 parts per million, and this was, you know, purifying the water down to less than 20 parts per million. That's more than adequate for most intents and purposes. You know, if you just want the unit to top off water in your tanks, or if you have a small tank like me with some sensitive animals, that's perfectly acceptable. But just for poops and grins, I went and I sprung for the 4-stage unit, and the only difference with the 4-stage unit is that you get this 4th stage. This is your DI unit, your deionization bed. So that's where the acronym RODI comes for. You have your reverse osmosis, your RO unit, and then it runs into your deionization bed, your DI, so RODI. And this takes me, this guy right here, this just takes that already purified water from the RO unit, or the RO membrane, and it just removes the very last little bits of contaminants in the water. Once it passes through this thing, I don't register any TDS in my meter. It's essentially completely pure water. The pH is a little bit lower than 7. It's about 6.6 to 6.8, and that's because even though the water is technically a pH of 7 when it comes out of this unit, as soon as the water hits the air, you're going to get the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere dissolving into the water and dropping the pH a little bit. Here's my purified water running in Airstone. I was aging this from last night. This is water that I had last night. I did a tiny little water change in the shrimp tank this morning. But anyways, so the way this works, it's really simple. There's no moving parts or anything like that. You don't have to have a degree in engineering to get this thing hooked up. It's just the cartridges, they just snap together. The first three are already snapped together. You just snap this one on in whatever configuration you want to. All of these little clips are movable. I can move this around. I just have it this way. That way none of the hoses are crimped up. But anyways, the way it works, really simple. You have your supply line. In this case, I have it in my washroom, obviously. Hook it up to my cold tap. I have a Y connector here. That way I can get both of these hooked up at the same time and I don't have to keep switching them out. But the water comes up here through your supply line, goes across the top here into your first cartridge, your sediment cartridge. This is the one that removes the larger particles that are still in the water. Particles that are obviously still too small for us to see with our eyes. We're talking about microns in size. But it's pretty much, just think of it like a filter floss. This is meant for larger particles, strips those out before it goes through the main parts of the filter. So that's stage one, your sediment cartridge. It comes across here through the bottom and it goes up into your carbon cartridge. Now the carbon is very important because this removes the chlorine from your water source. The chlorine can be damaging to the RO membrane, and the RO membrane is what does the purification. So you don't want to damage the RO membrane. You want to extend the life as much as possible. So that's why it goes through the carbon cartridge first, strips out any chlorine that's in your water source, and then it goes into the RO membrane. This is where the main filtration takes place. When the water passes through this, it's already incredibly clean, like I was saying, maybe like 18 parts per million. So it passes through here, the line coming up, and then it goes into your DI bed, and this just strips out the rest of it, and then the water goes down to wherever you want your clean water. Now this isn't a direct 1-to-1 ratio, meaning you don't put 1 gallon of dirty water in and then get 1 gallon of purified water out. This is more of a 4-to-1 ratio. Meaning, for every 4 gallons of water you pump into this, you will get 1 gallon of purified water. And over here is your waste line. So this is where where that rejected water flows out. Goes out here. I have it down in our washer drain right now, just so it doesn't drip on the floor or anything like that. But when I want to do a big purification job, I'll just take this line, pull it out. I'll stick it here into the basin for the washing machine, and then that way this is getting filled up a little bit while I'm purifying my water. When I'm done, just take the hose back out, throw a load of laundry in there, hit start, and then we're good to go. That way the water isn't wasted at all. Some people, they pipe it down their drain. Other people, they'll use it to water their gardens because it's rich in minerals. And out here in the desert, in the western outskirts of Albuquerque, New Mexico, I really don't want to spend all the effort carrying gallons of water outside to water our tumbleweeds and goat heads and other forms of desert weeds. So I figured it was best just to put this in the washing room, get some use out of that water by filling up the washer. And I can't really say I have it in here just to have it out of the way. This is an incredibly small unit. My hand for scale, probably have like maybe 12-14 inches for the main part, the RO cartridge, which is the biggest part. So it's really small, it's really compact, not nearly as wide as my hand extended. So it's a pretty good unit. About $45 through Amazon for the 3 stages. I got the 4th stage, the DI bed, added on there, so it was $70 through Amazon, free 2-day shipping. Love it. I priced it out on other suppliers online, Big Al's, Big Reef Supply, Dr. Foster and Smith. Everyone pretty much wanted about $100 for this, so you are saving a lot of money if you go through Amazon to get this little guy. But that's pretty much it. It's really straightforward, really easy to use. You just mount it on the wall with 2 screws. That's it. This clip right here and then this clip right here, they have holes on the other end. That way you can just drill them into the wall. I just felt, for the wooden stud in the wall, put it in there. That way, the weight of the unit wouldn't pull it out of the sheetrock. and it's really nice. You know, I highly recommend this for someone that's looking to do like a smaller tank, like a really small, maybe, you know, reef tank, or like me, you want to try to get into raising more sensitive types of invertebrates like the crystal shrimp. This will definitely take all the guesswork. You know exactly what's going in the tank. It comes out completely pure with the fourth stage with the DI unit on there. I stick my meter in that thing and it consistently reads 0 TDS. You don't want to use completely purified water. That's not good for the shrimp in my case, and so I use a remineralizer. It's called B shrimp, something like that. Uh, the language on the here, let me just go over here. I was dosing my tank earlier today. It's this stuff. So B shrimp, Maryland or Spriglumamente. And this pretty much just allows you to remineralize the water after it's been purified. This will put all the calcium and trace elements that is vital for the shrimp to survive. It only increases the general hardness, so you're not going to be adding any carbonate. So this way you can bring your TDS and your general hardness up to the levels that you want it. Without affecting the pH or the carbonate hardness, the KH of the tank. Both of those will stay where they were when you're using it. So anyways, just use this a tiny little bit, measure it out, get my little TDS meter and my GH drop test from API, and I'll get it right around 6 on the GH tests. And that puts me, and that's consistently around 100 and maybe 1,520 parts per million on the TDS meter. So, and that's pretty much it. I mean, aside from my little rant there about remineralizing the water, you could obviously do the same thing if you had a saltwater setup. If you had a small, like little reef tank or something like that. I don't know if you'd want to try to keep a saltwater tank in saltwater in a small tank like this, like, you know, like little 10 or 20 gallon tank, but you could definitely use this for your water. You know, purify your water for your saltwater tank, and then that way you can just add in your salt to increase your salinity, and you won't have to worry about any other chemicals that might be in your water supply from your manisupial water or your well water or something like that. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Feel free to let me know if you have any other questions. Talk to y'all later. Bye.